2011 Board of Selectmen meeting is now called to order on Wednesday, July 19th, 2023. If you could all please stand and join us in the pledge of allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. And thank you all for being here. This is our first meeting with our new start time of 6 p.m. So we appreciate Northern Berkshire Community Television getting the word out to folks, as well as that information being on the website, social media, and our media partners as well. So thank you. So it's nice to see that there are people here for our new start time. All right. The first item of business before the board is the approval of minutes for our Wednesday, June 21st Selectmen's meeting. And I believe, Joe, it's just you and I that can vote on them.
Okay. I'll make a motion that we accept the June 21st, 2023 meeting minutes of our Selectmen's meeting. I have a few corrections that need to be made. They're very minor, but they need to be corrected.
So do you want to include the corrections as part
Yes,
of your
I do.
motion? Sure.
Yep. So on page 2, under community development fees, the last sentence will change the fees, not the fields. You see that?
Gotcha. Yes.
And I believe under review and approve selected new cemetery rules, in your third sentence, it says many of the changes are linguistic changes. I think it should be linguistical, changes, I believe. And then finally, on page page 5, under the ratification of special police officers, your last sentence, it says appointment formally full-time officers, not offices. And with that, I'll make a motion to accept the minutes as amended.
Okay. I will second your motion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And an abstention?
Abstain.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right. That brings us to public comment. Is there somebody here who would wish to speak to the board? Yes, go ahead, Gail.
Do I get to go up there?
You do. Please come on up here. And prior to Gail going up to the podium, I did want to let the board know that she did provide some flyers. So.
Right, so my name is Gail Sellers. I have property here in Adams, but I live in North Adams. And I've been working on a project with Sue Hakes. Many of you may know Sue Hakes. She was a dancer, and she was my classmate. And Boas arrived today. So I thought it was an omen because the title of her project, our project, is From Russell Field to Las Vegas. And Sue, I graduated with Sue. We did some dancing together when we were in school. And the poster, they haven't even been out yet, so you have received the first PR. And I thought it'd be important to come to Town Hall and let our selectmen know what's going on and our community as well. So it's being televised. I think that's like great. I've been working with a team, Tammy Peltier, Barbara St. Pierre, and Greg Lefebvre. Greg Lefebvre has mannequins, and we have been working in the Mosser block. So Holly and Steve were generous enough to say, sure, because where can we do windows to promote this event? And they've allowed us to use their building. We have paper up right now, and so some people have already seen on Facebook, it says, so what's going on behind the doors? And we are planning to have a big reveal on August 3rd, which is Thursday, at 6:30. So I'd like to invite people to come out. You'll probably start seeing some stuff on Facebook about what's going on. Susan taught dance for 60 years. She started when she was 13 at Russell Field, charging students a quarter during their summer program. Matter of fact, she went to get her first car and she had a wagon full of quarters, is what she had. She often laughs about that. She does come into town periodically, and it was a year ago that I contacted her and said, wow, the theater's opening up. Wouldn't it be great if we could do something at the theater? You know so many people, especially even our seniors. I really want to get them involved and give them the opportunity to go. So the tickets are free. However, she was concerned because she has taught so many students that she's got students coming from California, from Las Vegas, from the South, and we've already sold 70 tickets. So already, Ina's been kind of surprised, like, wow, you know. And it's just, I haven't had the opportunity to work this closely with her. And whenever she worked on her performances, she was always a year out. So since February, she's been saying, Gail, we only have 8 months. Gail, we only have 5 months. Oh my God, Gail. And so I took the opportunity to come today because the next meeting will be the 2nd of August. And we will have the reveal on the 3rd. And I want to invite all of you to make an effort if you can, or send a representative, because often, you know, it's rare that we have such a crowd turnout that we have to turn people away. So I'm hoping that people will come out and see the windows. They're going to be fabulous. And the boas arrived. The boas will be in the windows. And this is the information. And you can go on and get tickets. And I think that's it.
Okay. Well,
Any
thank you.
questions?
Any questions from the board? Yeah, sure.
Chair, I just have a comment.
Sure.
I've been working with Ina quite a bit, and
Yes.
we're very fortunate to have her in this town. She's doing what she said she would do, and a lot of people that come to our town have grandiose ideas, but for some reason, they don't carry them out, and I'm just so happy that she's in town, and every one of her shows has been sold to capacity, and only being 250 people allowed because it's in reconstruction phase. I think that's great, and I'm sure, I know Susan, my sister went to school with Susan.
Yes, yes.
And it'd be nice to bring her back into town. I haven't seen her since she left, so.
I had the opportunity to go to Las Vegas. I was in, again, you know, this is a magical place, and I think if you have ideas, magic can happen. I was in Arizona, in Phoenix, and I took a plane to Ohio, and my plane was really delayed. And in the email I got from, forget what the name of the airlines was, but I got a ticket, like a voucher for $50. And who knew it was $50 to go from Phoenix to Las Vegas to see Susan? I'm like, oh my God, well, here's the ticket. So I went and spent 3 days with her. We talked about the show. We talked about all of the people that supported her all those years that she did dance. And I'm really excited to come back. And you're right about Ina. And one of the things with Ina is she's getting a lot of community support. Everything she's had, people have come out, even the things that you think, you know, who's going to go to that. And she rolled the red carpet out when I talked to her a year ago, even though the bathrooms weren't done yet. And Sue is concerned that 240 seats isn't going to be enough. And Ina said, by October, they're probably going to have another 200. So I kind of think that this may be a sellout show as well. So I'm looking forward to it and having fun doing the promotion. Thank you.
Thank you, Gail. Is there anyone else here to talk under public comment? Ms. Mesmore? Okay.
That was a tough act to follow, though.
Yes.
But I'm here for the
Boa
event.
required tonight.
Oh, sorry, can I borrow your ball? I'm just here tonight to just promote the concerts and the movies that the events committee is doing. So we've already had 2 concerts, and we were able to get them in without any rain, so that was very successful, hoping that the next 6 of them will be able to get in without rain on Tuesday nights, keeping our fingers crossed. But so we have on next Tuesday, July 25th, HB Funk is going to play. August 1st, Happy Together, but that is not going to be at the Visitor Center. It is going to be at the Town Common. Greg Caproni and John Moore are going to play on August 8th at the Visitor Center. Brian Benlin on August 15th. Hot Shot Hillbillies on August 22nd, and Jason and Trev on August 29th. So those all start at 6:30. They run till 8 o'clock. They're all at the Visitor Center, except for the August 1st concert. It will be at the Town Common. And we have 3 movies to go. Unfortunately, our last movie had to be canceled due to rain on July 7th. We're keeping our fingers crossed for this Friday, but as we know, the weather in the Berkshires isn't always cooperating with us. But we do have a movie July 21st, Turning Red, August 4th, Minions, and then August 18th, Finding Nemo. If these movies are canceled, we do post it on social media, we post it on the website, we do put signs at the visitor center. Sometimes we don't decide to cancel a movie until later in the day, closer to like 4 or 5 o'clock. So just be mindful of the weather. If it is a chance of rain or thunderstorms or lightning, the movie will be canceled, unfortunately. And I just want to give another plug out to the townwide tag sale. It is Saturday, August 12th. It is rain or shine. It will run from 8 to 4. If you are going to participate and you haven't already contacted us, the deadline to do so is this Friday, July 21st. It is $1 to register. So far, I believe we have 41 participants. So we will be sending out letters to all of our participants, asking them to just be mindful to take down all of their signs if they put up signs. And I think that's it. Maps will be available probably at the end of next week. We have somebody that'll do up the map for us. It will be, we'll have some at the library, we'll have some at the visitor center. Obviously, they'll be here at Town Hall. And we will also post them on the town's website, and I'm sure we can probably get that out on Facebook too for all of you. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? All right. Hearing none, we will move on to new business. So under new business, we have ratifications. Jay, do you want to take the first 2?
Sure.
The seasonals?
First ratification we have, we're budgeted for 7 seasonals, but it's been a hard season to try to recruit people for it. So we're going to add 2 tonight, thankfully. You'll see 2 letters in your materials for tonight. First one, Mr. David Dean. The second one, Ms. Alexandra Bartlett. So, Madam Chair, if you want to read those appointment letters.
Certainly. So first one, this letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that Mr. David Dean has been selected for the position of seasonal laborer for the town of Adams. Mr. Dean comes to us with experience as a seasonal laborer, specifically with mowing lawns, weed whacking, and utilizing a chainsaw. Although not required for this position, Mr. Dean currently holds a commercial driver's license. He is eager for this opportunity and is looking forward to serving the town of Adams. Mr. Dean will be ratified at an hourly rate of $15 an hour. His anticipated start date is Thursday, July 20th, 2023.
If anybody is familiar with the other David Dean, it is not the same. It is not retired officer David Dean.
Special officer. Okay. So we could take these one at a time. So this is a seasonal laborer position for the Department of Public Works.
I'm making a motion to ratify the appointment of David Dean to the position of seasonal laborer for the town of Adams.
I have a motion by Rick. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay.
I was just wondering, I'm glad that it went up to $15. Are the 2 people now that are working for the town going to get a bump in their pay?
Already have, they're up to $16 an hour.
Okay,
But we have to
great.
watch our budget. The budget is driven by the number of people we have and for how long that they work. So the way that it usually works is, we bring on as many people as we can in the spring, which is at the end of the previous fiscal year, and then they also work through the summer months and into the fall months on the first half of the new fiscal year. So we split it. So the number of people determine that. But the 2 that have been with us now for one in particular for several years. So we wanted to reward them with it. So we put them at $16 an hour, and that'll be the reward. I think during fiscal 25's budget development process, we'll have to revisit how much we're paying seasonals.
Yeah, because just personally, it seems like the town's getting behind on roadside cutting.
We are.
I have a lot of people have contacted me and saying, geez, why hasn't my roadside been cut? And that type of thing. And I see the starting day. Did Mr. Dean have a physical?
They'll start when all of that stuff is completed.
Okay.
Whether he did or not, I don't know. I believe yes, because I believe I saw him here today, but whether he's completed or not, I don't know. They won't start until they're fully certified to start. Usually there's a line in there on these
Right, that's why
ratifications, but the line, it's just somebody new doing it, so the line's not there. But yeah, they won't start until they're.
All right, then I'll second that motion.
Yep, you had. Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. All in favor? Anyone opposed? That's unanimous. The second letter says, this letter is to advise the Board of Selectmen that Ms. Alexandra Bartlett has been selected for the position of seasonal laborer for the town of Adams. Ms. Bartlett comes to us with a positive attitude and a desire to learn new public works skills. In her interview, she demonstrated an ability to learn new concepts quickly and apply problem-solving skills as needed. She is excited to take on this role and serve the town of Adams. Ms. Bartlett will be ratified at an hourly rate of $15 an hour. Her anticipated start date is Thursday, July 20th, 2023.
I'll make a motion the board ratify the appointment of Miss Alexandra Bartlett to the position of seasonal laborer for the town of Adams.
Okay, I have a motion by Rick. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Joe. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That is unanimous. Thank you. Ms. Meswar, did you want to come back up? And while you are making your way up, do you want me to read the letter in our packet?
Sure, or I can, whatever.
Okay, if you want to, I will also just state that the list of all of the election workers were posted with our agenda, and we're on the website with plenty of time for people to review, so we don't need to read all of those names this
Thank
evening.
you.
Yep.
Dear Chairman Hoyt, it is that time of year again for the Board of Selectmen to appoint election workers for the upcoming year. At this time, there are 2 elections planned for the year. The presidential primary, which will be March 5th, 2024, and then the annual town election on May 6th, 2024. Both town committees, Democrat and Republican, have been notified and asked if they want to have any input. I have received nothing. No additional names have been received. Attached is your list of workers. The list represents those workers that have already served the town in the past and wish to continue, and does incorporate a few new election workers that have reached out that would like to possibly participate in that role. The appointments need to be made by the 15th of August and become effective September 1st for the upcoming 1-year period. Do you have any questions?
Yes, through the chair, I just wonder, I think I've asked this before, I'm quite sure I have. Now, how do you ascertain who's going to get the positions, the slots?
Typically, if they worked in the past and they want to continue, I allow them to continue, or, have them come back and work.
Okay.
And if new people come on, sometimes they work doing different things before they actually, or they rotate in and out, for the voters list if they're marking off people.
Yeah, because I see there's 72. I wish we could get that many people active in other, aspects of our community.
Well, do understand that, yes, there might be 72 people there, but they all can't work all the elections, and depending on what their schedules allow for and that. So it's nice to have a nice little backlog of people that might be able to, help out on those days, depending on if somebody becomes sick or can't do it. And they've been asked to do it, and they've said they can, and that has happened, especially during the COVID season. That was a real struggle at sometimes trying to fill all those positions, because it does take a lot of people to make an election happen.
And out of curiosity, I've never asked this, what stipend do they get for their time there?
They get the minimum wage of $15 an hour.
Does anyone want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion the board appoint the list of poll workers that has been provided and publicized on the website and that for the 2023-2024 election season.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion to second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That's unanimous.
I will say that if we do have any of our registered voters that are interested in learning about this process, to feel free to reach out to my office, and we can take your name down and add you to the list next year, or keep you on standby in case something does happen. We will need quite a few election workers come all these elections next year, with between early voting and trying to process all those ballots on that day. It does take a lot of people to make all of that happen in a small time frame of 12 to 13 hours.
Thank you. We'll leave you right there. We'll go to item B, under new business. So the designation of police chief authority to assign the police officers for the elections. This was new for us to do in 2022, so if you wanted to walk us through that.
Yes,
again.
this was something new that, a new law change that it's up to the board's discretion of how many police officers are there. And it used to be I could just, email or call the police chief and have him assign officers to work at the polls. So I am asking that you designate Police Chief Kelly the authority to assign one police officer at the chief's discretion of who's available on those days, according to the scheduling and availability of the election cycle for fiscal year 2024. This, again, as Ms. Hoyt said, this was something new in 2022. You did this process for fiscal year 2023. I'm just asking you to do the same process for this fiscal year.
And to clarify, the request is to assign a minimum of one.
A minimum of one officer.
Not just one, but.
Right, a minimum of one for the March election and then again for the May election.
Yep. And then we'll do this again next.
And we will do this again next July.
Got it. So you do need an official motion and vote from the board. So you're looking for us to designate Police Chief Kelly the authority to assign the minimum of one police officer at the chief's discretion and according to scheduling for each election in fiscal year 2024.
Correct.
If someone wants to make that motion.
I'll make a motion that the board designate Police Chief Kelly as authority to assign the minimum of one police officer at the chief's discretion and according to scheduling and availability in each election in fiscal year 2024.
Okay, I have a motion by Rick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Joe. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
And that's unanimous. So thank you.
Thank you.
All right. So Bree, you'll be our resident expert for the next four, sorry. So we'll take them one by one. So item C is review and approve the one-day liquor license application for Bounty Fair to serve at Original Seed Cigar and Lounge on Saturday, July 22nd. And the time for this is 12 noon to 6:30 p.m. And it looks like it is for a cigar release party. And
Yep.
they've filled everything out and.
Everything is filled out, all the paperwork is in order, the license has been collected.
And it looks like they're looking for about maybe 35 people to attend.
Yeah, that was their estimate.
And they're contracting with Bounty Fair to provide the alcohol.
Correct.
Through the chair.
Sure.
Is there some insurance here on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I figured that at this point in our licensing season, you've seen that certificate come through enough times. I do have it on file. I have their crowd manager certificate on file and their safety plan on file.
Okay.
Happy to provide that outside of this if you'd like.
Oh, that's fine, just want to make sure.
I have all of the appropriate paperwork for this application.
Okay.
Good.
I'll make a motion this time. I see Rick
Okay.
is getting a little flustered there about, because he's looking over, so I'll take over for a few.
Okay,
I'll make a motion to grant a one-day wine and malt liquor wine and malt license for the Original Seed Cigar Lounge for July 21st, was it?
22nd.
22nd, from 12 noon to 6 o'clock.
6:30.
6:30?
Yep.
Okay, I didn't have that down. So I'll state it again. I'd like to make a motion to allow a one-day wine and malt license to Original Seed Cigar Lounge at 32 North Summer Street for July 22nd, 2023, from 12 to 6:30 p.m.
Okay, I have a motion by Joe. Do I have a second?
I will, but I got a question first.
Sure.
It's to the Bounty Fair, not the Original Seed,
Yes.
because
Yep.
Bounty Fair carries a license.
Thank you for catching that. Yep,
Okay, so I'll amend my license with the caveat that Rick brought in, too.
okay. So that the
I'll second
license
it.
applications for Bounty Fair on site at Original Seed. Sounds good. Any other questions or comments? All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So that one is unanimous. And I see Paul is here, so if we have questions about these applications, yeah, why don't you come on up? Introduce yourself, Paul.
Paul Brassard from 413 Bistro, Berkshire Pallet, Berkshire Food Group.
I know, I was like, there's a third, come on, Paul.
Yeah,
So Paul has two applications in, both of them are for events at Adams Theater. One is for Friday, July 28th, and the other is for Saturday, July 29th, and they are both 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. Correct?
yes.
Okay. All right.
Okay, I'll make a motion to grant a one-day wine and malt license to Paul Brassard, AKA 413 Bistro, for the Adams Theater at 27 Park Street in Adams on Friday, July 28th, from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. Approximately number of attendees is between 50 and 100.
I have a,
Can I just,
Yeah.
could we say maybe Aaron Brassard, because just I know he's listed as the manager on the liquor license, so.
so Paul or Aaron?
Aaron.
But operating as 413
413
Bistro?
Bistro LLC, yes.
Okay.
Okay?
Yep.
So I'll amend my motion to check the name Paul off and add the name Aaron to my motion.
Yes. Yep.
Okay, I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
So that one's unanimous for July 28th, and there's a second application for Saturday, July 29th, also 7:30 to 10:30 p.m. at the Adams Theater.
Okay, this will be my last one. I'll make a motion that we grant a one-day wine and malt license to Aaron Brassard, AKA 413 Bistro, from 40 Main Street, North Adams, to the Adams Theater at 27 Park Street, Adams, on Saturday, July 29th, from 7:30 to 10:30 p.m., and the anticipated event attendance is between 50 and 100.
I'll second.
You'll second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, that's unanimous. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate you being here. Good luck with the two events.
Thank you.
All right. And then Bree, item F, the common vic license for Rainbow Shack. I know there was a delay in the paperwork.
Yeah, so I had sent this back during our grand licensing season, which is November, and it bounced back to me because they're not open during November. So I had sent out a couple emails and made a couple phone calls, and then I received the application paperwork back in the mail the other day. So now that I've received it and payment, it is ready to be approved.
Great. Great. It's an annual common vic license for Rainbow Shack.
And we're doing the common vic,
They have seating, I
right?
believe.
But we did approve it once already, right?
No, I don't
No.
think so.
We did not apply during the standard licensing season because they're only open in the summertime. So this is not one that you would have seen on that memo or that list back in November.
Off-cycle.
All right. I make a motion the board approve the common vic license for the Rainbow Shack.
And I'll second that.
Okay. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's unanimous, thank you very much. All right. Brings us to item G, and we have, I think, two people, or just, okay. So, joining us this evening is Shardil Fernandez Aubert. Aubert, sorry.
Not a problem.
It's working on your first name, I apologize. So Shardil's here to talk to us about the Community First Partnership that the town of Adams has entered into with Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, and Shardil is representing Berkshire Regional Planning Commission. And from there, I will let you present.
So my name is Shardil. It's a Shardil. I am an energy and environmental planner for Berkshire Regional Planning. I oversee the Community First Partnership in 6 of our Berkshire County towns, including Adams. For those of you who aren't familiar with Mass Save, it's an energy efficiency program geared towards improving energy efficiency in residential and small businesses. It has a focus on 3 parts. The first is getting people a home energy audit, which basically tells you where you are losing energy in your home. The second is insulation upgrades, and the third part is encouraging people to take steps to move away from fossil fuel heating and cooling systems. We have, in the end of August, you have some flyers in front of you, I believe, a small business event coming up on the 24th, 25th, and 26th. This is geared with a community partner to provide enhanced incentives above and beyond what are normally available through the program of Mass Save to small business owners in the city, or the town rather, to take advantage of some of the options available through Mass Save to improve either energy efficiency or just the comfort of their businesses. We're also working with the town to provide information and plan events to make more information available to residents of the town coming up in the fall. Is there anything I can do to answer any questions?
Shardil, can you,
Yes.
the dates again for the small business?
I believe the 24th, 25th, and 26th, there will be team members from an organization called Energy Source canvassing in town, and there will be follow-up events including more canvassing, door-to-door outreach, and follow-up letters to follow that.
So that one's for small business, and then you're working on one for residents.
There will be several in the fall for residents. There's also going to be mailers sent out to residents of the town.
And that, yeah, so the canvassing is just for the small businesses on those
Correct.
3 days. Got it. And you have received a list from, like, community development, or like, how do you have the list of businesses that you're canvassing?
There are,
Sorry.
we have several resources at our
Okay.
hand.
Yeah.
We don't have a list from community development. We have several lists that are generated by a program sponsor. So these are Eversource, National Grid, Berkshire Gas.
Okay.
So they have client lists that they share just the address of the business. And they also provide resources to an intermediary who oversees the program statewide, All In Energy.
Okay. Other questions?
Just a comment, it's certainly something that small businesses and residents should get involved in. I've had them do that type of work at my house and things, and it's made some difference, so it's certainly, people should take, credence to it and call and get some help.
I do want to make one more comment, which is because of the expanding nature of the program, there are a lot of delays that may not have existed in the past. So I want people to be aware that we're trying to push them to take steps earlier than they might otherwise take them, just to be aware that there are delays.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And if we have questions, we can reach you through Becky in our community development office.
Correct.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you very
I
much.
appreciate your time this evening.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Thanks, Becky. All right, that brings us to item H, And I'll turn things over to the town administrator to just give us an update from the July 10th storm.
Thank you. So we are in the process of working with MEMA in order to catalog and monetize essentially all the damage that communities received in the region. The reason we do that is because with the amount of damage that Clarksburg and North Adams sustained and the Adams and then some of the other smaller communities, all of that has to be itemized and then placed in the aggregate in order to meet $12.4 million statewide of damage before a federal disaster declaration can be made. Once a federal disaster declaration is made on behalf of the Commonwealth, that unlocks a variety of different opportunities to seek reimbursement, both for public property, that would be town-owned property, public ways, as well as private property. Until that time happens, any resources available at FEMA level are not accessible either to the public or to a public body. So it was important for the past week and a half to go through, make sure that we catalog all of the potential damage that we have. Every community is starting to find additional damage that wasn't necessarily apparent at the time of the storm on that Monday and into Tuesday. We feel at this point that we've cataloged all of our damage, and it depending upon how you calculate it, it lives somewhere between $500,000 and $1 million. I want to be very clear, and I'm just repeating what we're told by MEMA, that there is absolutely no guarantee at all that there'll be any form of reimbursement for costs. So at this point, all of our labor costs, our overtime costs, straight time costs, material costs, everything that the town executed as a result of the storm is going to be placed on our budget, which are all unexpended, unplanned expenses, I should say. We're hoping that if a federal disaster declaration amount is not reached, or if FEMA decides not to declare one for the Commonwealth, that there'll be some other form of relief coming through the state. So the work that we've spent is not necessarily a waste at all. There was an attempt by our state rep, along with a few other state reps the other evening at the House in order to put some extra money into this year's budget process. I haven't had a chance to speak with Rep. Barrett, so I don't know how that succeeded. But even in my brief conversation with him, you know, there was cautionary language that there's no guarantee. That was the same message as well from Senator Mark. But I would think that with Governor Healy coming out here, you know, unlike the storm that just affected Adams several years ago, in this situation, we fared well. Our neighbors did not, so we're certainly on the radar for something. The majority of our damage in terms of public property was taken in the wastewater treatment plant. I was over there again today with our engineers going through it. The amount of water that plant took and processed through was really, you know, the entire wet well area, which is probably 16 feet tall, give or take, was almost completely submerged. Submerged every piece of electrical equipment, pump. The grinder, colloquially known as the muffin monster down there, was saturated. So we have to start going through the electrical system. The 3 raw sewage pumps, which are the first mechanical devices that pump the raw water in and then pump it up into the plant for processing, were all saturated. Not the electric motors, but all of the universal joints and all of the bearings. So all of those pumps have to be inspected and eventually sent out for rebuilding. So the plant staff is monitoring that, and I certainly just want to take a minute and applaud the efforts of DPW and the wastewater treatment staff. They did everything they possibly could within a very short amount of time of notice in order to do this, and they're still repairing items. So it could have been a lot worse. I think it's important for the board to know that the work that the board has endorsed happening over the past several years, particularly that $2.5 million bond authorization that was done late 2018 range, I think. I checked with Dawn again today just to have the spreadsheet and take a look, and you know, we've performed about $2.4 million worth of work. That $500,000 sits as that's what the town's matching amount that we have to give to FEMA in order to repair the Jordan Street culvert. So we've done $2.4 million worth of flood control work, and that certainly paid off. We have more work to do. It's never done. It's always a constant battle, but it could have been worse. We received a little bit of damage on the Davis Street, Southwick Brook area, some of the repair work that was done there eroded a little bit, so we have to get back in there to do it, but overall, that work held, and that's why, for the most part, we didn't see the road in the culvert damage that was there. FEMA is coming out, MEMA, I should say, is coming out this Friday. We're going to show MEMA, who works with FEMA, sorry for all the acronyms, but the way that it is, and we're going to do our best to try to expedite the Jordan Street culvert repair. You know, moving these monolithic organizations is not easy for a town like Adams, but we've come up with what we think with our engineers could be a temporary solution in order to lift that cover off and open the channelway. FEMA has to approve it, and we're going to have to determine how we pay for it. It's going to be well over $100,000 worth of temporary emergency work. Some of it will be required anyway once the work gets done, which is removing the old concrete, but yet at the same time, some of that work wouldn't necessarily be used to do the full repair on it. So we have to have that conversation with the grant holder, which is FEMA, and FEMA is willing to do that for us. Once I have that conversation with them on Friday, we're going to go back to Congressman Neal's office as well as our local delegation, Rep. Barrett and Senator Mark, and have a conversation with them about it and see what we can do. Right now, that's probably the #1 priority for us in terms of stormwater control, is to try to get some movement on that. It's not that it hasn't. The design is 75 to 80% complete, but you know, at this point, seeing what happened in that neighborhood, in that area, we have to try to at least do something. But it's not an easy process to move fast. I'll keep everybody informed as we know. Keep your fingers crossed for a disaster declaration, and we'll see what happens.
Does the board have a question?
Yeah, I have a question. It was just a matter of time till it's happened. You know, and this type of weather is going to continue to happen.
Mm-hmm.
There's no doubt about it.
Absolutely.
Climate change is here. The heating of the earth, water comes down quicker. It can't stay up in the atmosphere. It gets so heavy. So I'm happy that because I'm taking for granted that we do have money from either FEMA or MEMA. And for people watching, MEMA is Massachusetts Emergency Management Administration, and FEMA is Federal Emergency Management Administration. Now, I can remember we had been promised some money from either one of those for that culvert, weren't we?
It's FEMA.
FEMA, yeah.
We have it. Well, we have the grant. We don't have the money. FEMA has to approve the design, so we are paying VHB in order to do the design on our dime. We have no money released from FEMA. When we're done with the design work, when we feel this is the design that we want, this is what our engineers say will work, FEMA has to then approve the design. Once they approve the design, then they will release the money, and then we have to go out to bid, federal procurement, Backus Davis wages, and then we have to get a contractor in order to do it. There is no way to access the culvert from public property, so we have to acquire permission from an adjacent landowner to the left of the culvert if you're looking west.
Yeah, I'm familiar with it.
Right, in order to get the equipment in there. So it's not an easy process. But we were also told at the time that we got the grant, that we can't do any work to that culvert. If we do anything other than clean it as best we possibly can based on its condition, we will void the grant and they will not give it to us.
Well, I'm a little confused then. Why haven't we been pushing them to do the plan? I mean, it seems as though that we knew this was going to happen.
But they have. They have been doing the plan. That's called the design.
Yeah,
that's
but
VHB.
When is the last time that been in contact with them prior to what just happened now? Have you been in contact with them?
It's
right
being,
along?
yes, it's being managed by the Community Development Department, and along with any other type of project. There's nothing wrong with this project. It's just unfortunately slow, and it frustrates all of us. But it is what it is. These things, stormwater control is not easily designed. You know, we can get Donna in here. I'm happy to bring Matt Chase from VHB in to explain it to you if my word's not credible enough, but they have been working on it. And then even if they have worked on it, and even if we hand them that design, FEMA may not like it. And FEMA may say, go back, we don't like this design, do D. And this is the problem that we have with grants, particularly federal grants. They hold the purse strings. They hold the purse strings. They hold control. If we went in there and just took property by eminent domain temporarily and just decided to open the thing up, then we'd be shorting the town $1 million and now we'd be back on the hook for it. So although it may not make common sense to people on the street or any of us who have common sense, it is what it is. But no one's sitting on their proverbial behind with it. VHB has a good design. They have 3 design options. They came out the day after the storm. We inspected it with them. We had MEMA there the day after the storm. And, you know, there's so much water that went through there. Over 4.5 inches of water went through there. There was so much, if anyone's looked at it, the metal grate that was there, there's so much water and force that went through that, it crumpled the steel iron bars on the grate and took it right in there. That's how much water went through there. We took like 4.5 inches, which is 30 days worth of rain in a small period of time. And 6.8 million gallons of water went into the wastewater treatment plant, and that can only hold 5.25 right now, because we're at 50% capacity because of the construction project. So it's a lot of rain that went through there, and there's no guarantee that had that work even been done by then, even if it had been, you know, fully repaired, that there wouldn't have been some level of overflow with it anyway, because we took so much water. So I personally share your frustration. The Community Development Department does, DPW most certainly does, but there's not anything more that we can do with it. In fact, the 3 grants that we have from the federal government, frankly, are the most complicated to manage and the most frustrating to work with. Certainly not the state ones.
I mean, Irene started all of this, and that was in 2011, I believe. And we're looking at 2023, and that's been deteriorated at least since that time. And it's just, I don't know, it just was a matter of time in my mind. I've brought up numerous times that this is going to happen, and we're going to have lawsuits, and now we have them.
And we've conveyed that to FEMA,
Yeah.
and the response is, you touch it and you lose the $1 million. So that's the predicament that we're in. And that's, I'll tell you, that's a very frustrating predicament for a town manager. Hence my red face and my frustration right now. So I hear you with it, but there's nothing that we can do. We've tried. Everything that we've tried, and frankly, having the engineers here the day after and having Mima here the day after was, you know, Mima's been fantastic with it. And the fact that we can have that conversation on Friday, you know, maybe that's what it takes in an event like this, to finally get their attention and say, can we at least do a mitigating corrective repair now? Or do we have to wait another 2 years until we have a final design and do it? So we've been monitoring the conditions, we take pictures, and we're in touch with them. And I'm very happy to invite VHB, you know, to an available meeting sometime, you know, next available meeting, and have an update given to you by the engineers, because maybe they can be more eloquent than I can. And I think you'll sense the same level of frustration from Matt and his team as well.
Okay.
Thanks. Oh, you have another
Next,
question?
yeah,
Sorry.
this is on the wastewater treatment plant. Now, the money, the bond that we put in for rehabilitation of our wastewater treatment plant, if we have another incident like we just had with the enormous amount of water that came through, are the things that we're doing now to the rehabilitation going to correct those problems?
Yes. The plant is rated for 10.5 million gallons of influent. On an average daily basis, we handle anywhere from 2 to 2.5. You have heard questions before from people that they feel as though we're wasting money by putting the plant back to 100% capacity. And last Monday's rainstorm is the exact reason why that plant has to have its full capacity. One of the reasons for it. When the $7 million work is done, clarifier number 2 will be online. That is a very large concrete water tank for the public. I don't want to get into the chemistry and the mechanics of water treatment tonight. But clarifier number 2 is out of service and dry. We have 6 aeration basins, big, very square pools of water. Each one has an electric motor on it that essentially stirs up the water. Aeration basins 1, 2, and 3 have never been restored. The electric motors are from 1970. They're direct drive, full startup. You hit those buttons to bump those motors and you get the electric surcharge because they take 480 volt AC. Those are being replaced and the aeration basins are being placed into operational status. On a regular basis, the plant operation is going to go in what's called duplex mode. They'll run basins 1, 2, and 3 for a period of time, then switch over to 4, 5, 6. Clarifier 1 for a period of time, clarifier 2. That'll allow everybody to get in there, clean the sediment from the tanks, et cetera. It's really actually a fascinating, process, but it's a lot of work. We haven't been able to do that because 50% of the plant's been out of service. Clarifier number 2 had all of its equipment, but fell into a state of disrepair and wasn't usable. In a situation like this, when we know we're going to have high inflow, I&I, inflow and infiltration, in a perfect world, and what happened, you may have read in the paper or heard me speak, we have an alarm system in what's called the wet well. That's where all the inflow comes in initially. It meets the grinder, grinds up the solids, begins to separate that process. There was so much inflow of water that it overwhelmed the first stage alarm system, and then the water came up and shorted out all the other alarm systems. In a perfect world, that alarm would have gone off, the operator would have received an automated telephone call, and raw sewage pump number 2 would have come online, and raw sewage pump number 1 would have ramped up to begin to pump all that. And there was a lot of flow when I was down there today, and only one pump was running at nominal speed. And that was a lot of water. So it would take a lot of water coming through in order to ramp those pumps up. So the alarm components they're being updated now and they're being addressed now. And this was just, to your point, Joe, not anything that was ever predicted. No one ever thought that we were going to get washed out in the way that we did, in the manner that we did, and short out these redundant systems. So when the plant is fully restored and is at 100% capacity, when the alarms go off, the operators are going to be able to open up those other components, clarifier 2 and the other side of the aeration basins, and take in all that water. That'll solve it. But right now, and frankly, even if we weren't doing this project, we would have had the same problem because those other half the plant was out of service.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you for getting the word out that we had a spill right away.
We did it right away.
I think that will be helpful. Have we heard anything back about possible fines or anything?
No.
Or are they just, because of our good nature and the way we did it, it might be a wash?
That's, yes, that was, DEP received a telephone call within hours of us. They
Right.
mitigated the situation first and then made the call. 2 reasons why we won't be fined. Number 1, we were proactive. And number 2, the amount of total suspended solids, or TSS, biomass that went into the river was minimal. So the type of backwash was not sufficient.
Especially with the flush that was going on in the
Yes.
river during
Yes.
that high water.
Right, and it was, solution is as I was always taught in emergency management in my previous career, dilution is the solution to
Yeah,
pollution.
right.
And that's what would happen there.
Okay.
But DEP says we did everything, correctly. And both MEMA and DEP, we weren't the only plant.
Right.
Almost every plant along the Connecticut River, in the Pioneer Valley, Chicopee, Springfield, Holyoke. I don't know about Hoosick Water Quality District, but we weren't the only plant to have a discharge.
Okay, thank you.
All right, and thank you for the update and for keeping us informed.
We'll continue to do that.
Okay. All right, so we will move on to subcommittee and liaison reports. Rick, do you have anything?
I have nothing.
Joe?
Yesterday I attended the Agricultural Commission meeting and, talking about climate change. A lot of the members, as you know, come from farm families and run farms, and they're seeing quite a challenge also now with all the rain that they have. Hard to get in their fields, and when they're in there to cut, they're gouging them up because their tractors are going down. And so to me, I don't know, what we can do, but certainly our eye has to be centered on changes. I don't know, there's a lot of towns that are becoming more active with climate resilient boards and things, kind of like a think tank of what we can possibly do to, mitigate the best that we can, what we're going to see in the future. So, I just got a good feel from, without food and the ability to raise food, we could become a lost society. But I'm really proud of the Agricultural Commission. They're very proactive, and I feel that they're doing a great job.
One of the things that they could do that I think would help, we learned this last week, is agricultural damage due to a storm like this is not calculated. and not reimbursable. And I was very shocked to hear that. And that's something I think should probably be changed. But there was a lot of farmland damage along the Connecticut River Valley as well, and not calculated. Can't be part of the initial damage assessment, which I was very surprised to hear.
Yeah, there's some farms down there that have GoFundMe pages.
Yeah.
They've lost everything for the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's my report. That's all I have.
Okay. All right, thanks.
The chief is here, by the way. He was not able to make public comment because of that. He was on scene, so he is here to speak about.
So I have two announcements that are listed under announcements and go to the order, and then I'll go to the chief, if that's okay. So under announcements and go to the order, we have that the Adams Street Fair was rescheduled. So this was supposed to happen in June, but due to inclement weather, this has been rescheduled for July 30th. And the time will remain the same of 12 to 6 p.m. But they did ask that I announce that, although they've done a really good job of putting up banners and signs everywhere they can to let people know about the rescheduled date. And then on Friday, the board, as well as the town administrator, will be attending a ribbon cutting ceremony at LC Square at 173 Howland Ave. The public is welcome to attend. LC Square is a cultivation facility here in the town of Adams, our first. So it is a big deal, and we're happy to be doing a ribbon cutting ceremony there. Art picked the date of this Friday at 11 a.m., and we're excited to be there and help them celebrate. So hopefully the board members can attend. All right.
And if I could just make a comment.
Yeah,
Art is another person that's come into this town and invested a lot of his personal money. And those are the kind of people I love to see come to our community, because they're driven, they know that they're doing something that's going to help the community, but of course also help them as a business person. So you'll be it's just amazing to see that operation. If you haven't been there, it's just unbelievable. But so kudos to Art. He's moving right along.
great. Thanks. All right, Chief, I'll let you go first before we have any other announcements. I have a couple others, but I'll let you go.
Thank you for allowing me the time. Sorry I'm late.
That's okay.
So first of all, on the back of the rescheduling, the next weekend or the next Tuesday, we will be having our National Night Out. It will be our third annual. That is August 1st. As usual, I welcome everyone out. We will have DJs, food. The National Guard will be bringing a lot of their stuff, dunk tank. So, it will be a good opportunity for the community to come out. And as usual, we have already 5 or 6 different community organizations that offer different services to the community that will be there, because that's something that I've been focused on since I started this, is also having something if the community comes and needs some assistance in whatever it may be, we have them there. Just a couple more things, just an update on some of our officers. So Officer Banks, who graduated in March, has already finished his field training, and he is on his own on night shift. Cole, who I ratified a month or so ago, he is attending the academy on October 16th. So he's ready to go, and he's flourishing already. I'm really proud of what we've had so far, and hopefully if everything comes in that I have ordered, or the next Board of Selectmen meeting, I will be presenting some acknowledgements, because over the last couple of months, we've had some of our officers do some really extraordinary things, whether it has been, and speaking of Banks, getting a lot of drugs off our street since going to third shift, him and Michael Strizzi, to our officers literally saving someone's life. So all of this has happened in the last couple of months, and I wanted to actually do it all at one time and overwhelm you all with some of the stuff that they do. You know, and it's good for me to come here and say some of this stuff because they just go out and do their job. But quite frankly, they need the acknowledgement of the things that they do without thought. So that's what I've got. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Appreciate it. And, oh, night out, what were the hours? Sorry.
5 to 7.
5 to 7.
I'm sorry.
Are you doing the dunk tank this year?
He
I was
said.
the one that finished it up last year, and I'll finish it up this year. If the town administrator would like to do so, he is welcome. I'll let him take my place.
Wow.
Is this a fundraiser?
You won't earn any money with that.
It's a fundraiser. I gotcha. Thank you, Chief. Appreciate it. All right. There was some correspondence in the board's mailboxes this week. You should have seen the appointments of 3 members, or reappointments of 3 members to the Finance Committee. So it's Aaron Mucci, Justin Duval, and Rachel Tomkowitz. So just wanted to make sure that you all saw those letters in your mailboxes. And then I think, because Haley took care of movies and concerts and everything else, I think, and the tag sale, I think I'm good with my announcements. Joe?
Yeah, I just have a few things. We haven't met in quite a while. I was wondering, how are we on the police contract? I mean, they're working out without a contract now, is that correct?
They're working on a holdover from the previous contract.
Okay.
And then we're making sure that we calculate all of their hours that we're working, so when the contract is finalized, although we have a tangential wage, all the money aspects are already agreed to. But you can't agree to a contract in halves, so you have to agree to the whole thing. So we were due to meet on Monday, July 10th, and unfortunately, we had a pretty significant rain event. So that's now delayed. We now in the middle of Officer Baker's vacation. So we'll be meeting, I want to say Tuesday the 25th, and we hope to wrap it up then and there. These are work rules and other associated, things like that that really aren't necessarily monetary in nature.
Okay. Another thing, what's happening at the mobile station to revamp it? I understood that once our new fiscal year came about, that we'd be getting rid of all that debris and starting some work on that, so.
Yep. We need 8 days in a week, and a lot more time, and a lot less rain is what we need to do. Nothing's happening because we can't get to it. It's on the proverbial to-do list.
And I think I sent a letter to Don. I'm not sure if you got one, but there's quite a few erosionary problems at the Glen property. The trail itself is eroding. The wetlands are starting to come out during the heavy rains. The brook that emanates from the Bellows Pipe Trail that goes through near where the pavilion is overrun its bank twice during the heavy rains. There's a lot of debris in the channel, so every time it rains, it's just going right over into the grounds there. And the trail that we need to take care of is starting to grow in. It's being encroached with grasses, and it's becoming narrow in places. There's a lot of trees overhanging and bushes, and we're going to be stewards of that property, and we've got to be ready for it.
I think that's why we put a position in for this fiscal year. So we'll start in January.
Yeah, but I mean, we have to, well, that's January, but we need to get some people up there to do some things now.
Right. We would love to hire some seasonals. So if anybody knows any seasonal laborers who would like to work for the town of Adams, we'd love to have some additional folks. We still have, how many to fill? You said 2?
We could probably take on another 3.
Yep.
Well,
That are
there's the time to
vacancies.
make the announcement
I
right
just
there,
said-
yep.
yeah.
Please, if anybody's willing to help out the town as a seasonal laborer, please come down to the town hall. We could certainly use you.
I should note that, I don't want to say his name because he may not want recognition for it, but we had an individual, he's well-known to everybody in the town of Adams. He came in today, and he will be volunteering sporadically as a seasonal labor for us. He refused pay, and he's going to help us out in certain areas, weed whacking and mowing.
Nice.
All I can say is that we need to get together like the Friends of the Glen or something, because so we've got a group of people that are going to take care of the grounds. It's that simple.
Well, I'm gonna get on a soapbox for a little bit,
Yeah.
because your observations are by no means incorrect. But I think it's important that I repeat this periodically. Over the last probably 10 to 15 years, I would say, the town of Adams has assumed far more maintenance responsibility than the labor that we have available to do it. We have 13 individuals in the DPW. One of them is a manager and a supervisor. The other 2 are assigned to the maintenance garage. That leaves 10 bodies at any given time to handle everything that we have to handle in our 23 square miles. 4 of them are assigned to the Parks and Cemeteries Department. At this time of year, all they do is mow the cemetery, all they can do is mow the cemeteries, empty trash into the public areas, and take care of the parks. They also line the parks and all of that for athletic play. That's not enough staff to do that. The 6 other individuals handle all the flood control work, all the stormwater collection work, and all the highway work. It is a lot of stuff in this town. As our infrastructure gets older, you throw in the weather issues that we've had, and we just can't keep up. And that's addition to all the vegetation control work and all the flood control work. This town, when it had some less items to maintain, had about anywhere from 30 to 40 individuals in its DPW. And everyone should know, I'm not the guy that just throws bodies at problems. We try to squeeze everything we can out of the resources that we have. But tonight, I've heard several times now, concerns about things that aren't getting done, and they're fair observations. Nobody's saying that they're not observations. I'm the first one to admit. I come in and I'm like, shit, we got to get to that. But we can't. We have to constantly prioritize and get things done. And the Glen area is one of those areas that hasn't gotten the attention it needs. It's not normal, frankly, for a municipality to have that amount of infrastructure that it needs to maintain. So that's why, just to remind everybody at home, we have a position on the books. The job description needs to be drafted. We hope to have it drafted this summer and the position recruited sometime in the fall, called Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds. And eventually the goal is to have that person with a team. I can't tell you how large the team would be, but our goal is to just have people dedicated to handling those exact things that Joe just brought up, because he's not wrong. We need to do it. But as the manager, I can tell you we don't have the staff to, and we have to constantly prioritize and reprioritize what we do. You throw in a few things here, and we're off by weeks, and the guys know it. They know they're behind schedule. And there's only so much overtime that we can authorize to have them do it, because the overtime isn't necessarily budgeted for routine maintenance. It's budgeted for snow activities and emergencies like we've just had. So we're hoping, to look at the bright side of the street in the future is the Superintendent of Buildings and Grounds is going to get up there. In addition to being concerned with the outdoor center, how that building is being working, custodial services, needs, things like that, they're going to get out on that trail and they're going to observe those things. To Joe's last point, which I think is a great point, it would be helpful to have a group of folks, not unlike the Adams beautification. That group has done a tremendous job in our downtown public spaces. If we could get a group like that would be willing to report to the town, and we would give them the to-do list and be able to help us maintain the Glen until we can get our workforce up there, that would be fantastic. But I just ask for the public's patience with it, because it's the same group of guys that are down here. The telephone calls come in for sewer clogs, it's the same group of guys. Paving, the potholes being patched, same group of guys. Can you line the field? Valley Street Field just got a lot of attention because of the Little League game. The guys were up there, they had to do that too. So we should be proud of the infrastructure that we have, but I think I'm getting to the point where I'm going to have to ask the board and the finance committee, perhaps for fiscal 25's budget, is to consider increasing the DPW staff in order to handle some of these things. Whether we assign them specifically to the Glen, whether they're assigned to certain areas, I don't know, but we might have to consider that. It's getting very apparent to me that the numbers that we have are insufficient to maintain the level of demand that we have.
Yeah, I have some more things to say, but I don't want to say them in public. I'll speak to you about them.
Great.
And the last thing I have is, I'm very concerned about the Quaker Meeting House. I know, I've heard it, for such a long time that we're looking for grants, we're gonna get grants. How do we stand with that?
We don't have any. In fact, the Adams Historical Society is almost zeroed out, the balance of money that we have. They sent a letter asking, for the money to be carried over, which automatically happens. But my response to them was essentially it would be incredibly helpful if the Historical Society would help attempt to fundraise. I think this community is a giving community, and I think folks would be willing to donate to such an organization for that purpose far more than they're going to open their checkbook and give a check to the town of Adams. But I think that's the fastest solution to try to earn money for it. But the Community Development Department, looks all the time for a variety of different things. No, it's almost the same conversation I'm going to have about building preservation as I am with DPW. You've got Hoosick Valley Coal and Grain Tower that a bunch of folks want to save that. That's $1 million. Quaker Meeting House needs a significant amount of work as well. We have a lot of infrastructure and a lot of things that have been placed for whatever reason on the back of the public. That would be town government. And we are not equipped nor funded appropriately to do all of this work all at the same time and to maintain everything the way that we would like it. So it's on the community development radar when things pop up. I don't know if that's something that's eligible for CDBG, but we're hoping that the Historical Society, which is a great group of people, can kind of take ownership of that and help fundraise, and that would certainly, help us with it. And I'll just quickly, Hoosick Valley Coal and Grain, if you see activity over there, that is the contractor beginning to work to install the dog park over there.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks. Rick, anything?
Nothing.
Okay. All right. So yeah, I just wanted to say, I know that we've talked a lot about all of the different needs and the different team members here, but I would say that we have a great team of employees all over the place. I will single out both DPW and wastewater treatment. We talked a lot about some tough things that have happened over the last week, but due to their mitigation efforts and planning ahead of time, I think that we fared better than some of our neighbors in neighboring communities, and all news reports was that we received more rain than the other communities. But we did talk about, a couple of areas that were hit hard, but I see that our damage was less than our neighbors, and we received more rain, and I can't commend them enough for all of the work that they did leading up to that storm. I know that they put in some work the week before leading up to that to clean out culverts and so forth. So I just, I think we may have missed thanking them for their work this evening. So I just wanted to close out with that. And with that, there's no further business, so I'll go ahead and ask for a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right.